What's up, everybody? It's Mark from 403 Fauna, along with
Jason, Radass Designs.
welcome to the Fauna Topic, where every week we talk about relevant things in the ball python industry as well as reptile industry. Today's topic will be on being an ethical buyer and seller. So, Dash Coda Reptiles, he put out a good video, and if you're not following him, be sure to check him out. Talking about being a good buyer and seller of snakes, and he made some really good points, and I thought, you know what, this is going to be a great topic for us this week, so I decided to bring it up. Are you following Bash Coda Reptiles on Instagram?
I don't think so, but I've heard of him. I've seen some of his stuff. I don't think I'm following him. I'll have to go look.
I think he's going to blow up because he's been putting out these really nice videos just talking about the industry. So hopefully the audience will check them out as well. Hey,
Yeah.
how was your week, Jason?
It was good. Yeah, good week. No snow, not really much rain. Pretty good there. Animal wise, just got some animals established, and I picked up a whole bunch of mice yesterday. So big feeding time tonight.
Oh, nice. Now, are
Yeah.
we talking about the the African savanna mice or
No, just
regular
like
mice?
just regular mice. I know this lady's a couple cities over, and it's really rural, and she has one ball python. She used to have two, and she sold the male normal ball python. I think she got like $100 for it. And she's had them in little aquariums, and they seem fairly cozy. And in her daughter's room, she has mice. She has a couple tanks of mice that she didn't want to have to go and acquire them. She just wanted to create them. But even with two snakes and then now only one, she ends up creating an overflow of typical standard field mice. And then I'll go over there usually, and my car's like all like bumping from the roads that are not paved, and it's like every time I go, I'm like, oh man, this is the last time I drive here. She's gonna have to meet me in town. But I'd always go back. And this time she actually dropped them off, so that was pretty cool. And I think I got 35 mice, mostly adults, subadults, some smaller, like large hoppers, and some pinky fuzzies. 35 total mice for $40 cash delivered.
Very nice.
So that's why I usually work something out with her. I gave her a good deal on like a whole setup for a bearded dragon once too, so goes both ways. But yeah, mice, just regular mice, and I like feeding mice other than when a mouse gets away from you for whatever reason, jumps out the tub or jumps out your hand. Like it's a whole different corralling process than it is with like soft furs or rats or hamsters. They tend to be a little easier to deal with and to track down. Mice, man, they're so quick.
You know, we're definitely gonna have a feeding episode soon, if not next week. So let's kind of save our thoughts on feeding here
Yeah.
because I'm a big believer in mice as well, and we'll talk about that maybe next week.
Hmm.
So this week I did get a snake in. I think I talked about last week that I did. I was getting a snake from RP Reptiles, and I'm going to shout them out in a later segment. But I got a snake in. You'll see that video on my YouTube this weekend. So I'm happy about that. A lot of my girls they've stopped eating. They're laying in their water bowls, so it's looking really good for some ovulations very soon. I should have some eggs within the next month from my red stripe female. I'm not going to
Nice.
have like major mind blowing morphs to show off this year. In fact, a lot of them are going to be shed tests are going to be sent off to Charlie just to figure out what I got going on. But I'm really excited about it. I should produce some really pretty animals, even though they may not have the recessive genes involved with them. So I'm looking forward to that. And I might have to do a lot of wholesaling with them or just giving them away to students, but there's going to be some real gems in there that hopefully I can hold back.
Nice.
So it's been a good week. Yeah, I just did some feeding last night, and most of them are eating. I do want to talk about on one of my regular YouTube videos some of the failures I'm having so far this season, or maybe we could talk about that on one of our lives here. But so far, been a good week.
Good.
Okay, our shout out of the week. I don't know if he's in the audience yet, but Straight Blast Pythons. If you don't know, I do a problem of the week, and the winner gets a shout out the following week, and they get put into a drawing for a snake from me and Jason at the end of the year. And I guarantee those snakes are going to be bangers that you'll want to have in your collection. So Straight Blast Pythons, he has a YouTube. He showed his Tinley pickups, and they were all morphs that I'm heavily involved with: Lace, Confusion, Trojan, Calico. So check out his YouTube. He just picked up a Woma Python. I know I've always wanted to get a Woma or a Blackhead. Have you owned any of those pythons, Jason?
No, Australian pythons other than a coastal carpet a long time ago for only a little while. I couldn't resist. It was super pretty at this show and had like 5 stripes on it. And but it was a little bit nippy, and I didn't have quite as much experience at the time, and I could handle it, and I wasn't scared of it, but it it was a feisty little snake, and I ended up just finding a home for it. But it was really pretty, not a normal pattern. But no, I've had friends who have kept womas and blackheads and ringneck? No, not ringnecks. What are ringed pythons? I think they're from Australia too. They're real pretty as babies. And yeah, no, I never have, but I've held some, and some people just, man, over the years, like people just love those snakes, especially womas. But yeah, no, I've never had one myself.
Yeah, beautiful pythons. Check out his Instagram, check out his YouTube, guys, and show him some support. Okay, I'm going to bring up this week's problem of the week. Now, less people in our audience right now means you got a greater chance of winning. Now, if you've won it before, you may contribute the answer, but you will not be put into the drawing. So it's got to be a first-time winner that will be put in the drawing and be shouted out next week. So without further ado, let's put up this week's problem of the week. The most expensive ball python ever sold was this morph. A, the banana. B, scaleless. C, paradox. Or D, ivory. So audience, if you want to take a guess on this, go ahead and write it in the chat. And the first person to get it correctly will be our shout out of the week next week and be eligible for a drawing of a ball python. Now, I remember going to the Anaheim Reptile Show. This was like in 2012, 2013. And they had a banana cinnamon ball python for $30,000. And that was just insane to me. You were here at that time, so you know how crazy the prices were on some of those Kodoms.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I remember first seeing a picture of a banana in a book and just being like, wow, like I'll never get one of those. It's gonna take so long. I didn't know anything about the genetics and quirks to it at that time, but they, to this day, people like that your average keeper of a python it really likes a banana. So that's pretty cool that even though maybe they don't have the same allure to people that have like big collections and fancy stuff, um, they're always gonna be somewhat popular.
Have you ever considered owning a scaleless?
Not really. I don't love most versions of scaleless snakes. They are really soft and they are interesting. Um, doesn't really like do it for me. I had when I got that collection, I had two snakes that were scaleless heads, and in theory, I could have been pairing them and trying for it, but I guess I thought about it for a tiny bit. I'm like, well, I guess I could do that. But they take a little bit more patience and attention to detail on husbandry, and I just decided, especially since one of the snakes was a spider banana, that I just didn't want to create spiders or scaleless in that circumstance. But might have been kind of cool experience, but I let that go.
Well, audience, no one has picked the correct answer yet. Melinda
Uh-oh.
said
That's the
C.
first time. Usually it's super fast.
I can see there's a few of you out there. So take a guess if you want that shout out and being eligible for a free snake. Are there any of these? Well, you've owned bananas before. Anything else? Have you had a paradox or an ivory in your collection?
Not like a really nice paradox, just like little tiny paradoxing on the animals. Like some of my favorite ball pythons and combos that I've seen are like wild paradoxes. And I just think that's just so neat because you have like hidden genetics like showing through, and it can create a pretty dramatic look and a snake that you can't get really any other way. They're kind of special. Some more so than others. Let's see. I have a sand boa that is het for Paradox Snow, Paradox Albino, but um it's nothing too wild like that what you'll see in the ball pythons with different genes. Ivories are pretty snakes, and I've never owned one. I actually have a payment plan now that I think about it on an ivory TSK Exanthic male. Um, so he's ivory, but you can tell that he's Exanthic too. He's got kind of like a gray head. He's pretty cool. So, probably get him this month.
Okay, guys, come on. The correct answer has not been put up yet. It's not B. It's not C. Got a 50% chance now. We can't keep talking about this problem of the week. Come on, someone get it. Guess A or D. Well, I've owned an ivory, and in fact, it was one of the snakes I held back before I got back into it in 2020, and I actually gave the ivory away to one of my students who had a snake already and was experienced. Okay, guys, first person who says D, that's it. Come on. Somebody type in D. First one. Dun, 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 dun. I don't see it yet. It wasn't. Go ahead. Someone type in D. That's the correct answer. Oh, wait up. Melinda, didn't we showcase you already? Have you been a previous winner? I think you might have been a previous winner. So, girl next door. So, yeah, Melinda, previous winner, but thank you for the hint. I'm going to give it to girl next door. Sorry, Mission, you're just beaten. Girl next door, can you message me on Instagram at 403 Fauna? And we'll get you that shout out next week and make you eligible.
Well, that definitely was a problem of the week. That's the
I
first
think
time that's happened, but that's that is correct.
yeah, the ivory was sold for $125,000 to, gosh, I just looked this up and I've completely forgotten, but it was an ivory for $125,000. Good Lord.
Whew.
Okay, let's move on. Do you have your snake of the week, Jason,
I
ready to go?
do. I do. It's right here. And it looks a bit like an ivory, but isn't.
Okay, we're gonna need to see those eyes. Audience guess. See, it does look like an ivory because it has a little bit of that black on the head. So I would have guessed ivory. So two possibilities here. Super fire, black-eyed leucistic. I can't quite see the eyes, or some sort of bell complex combo. Looks like a black-eyed leucistic.
She's really cool. I got her recently, and she's like pretty chill, and she's got good body composition. She's real friendly. Um, I really like her. Like,
Is Mojaves do have the gray on the head, so I don't know whether
they do a little bit, but you can see her eye stripes,
yeah.
and they show a little bit of yellow in them.
Yeah, that looks very ivory-ish. So what do we got here?
So this is just a regular combination of yellow belly and gravel.
Uh-huh.
So it's a highway. And she laid 7 eggs for Steve's Morphs, Steve Casino, last year. And then a few months after that, he put her up on a list of snakes to sell. And I just thought, okay, I don't have a lot of yellow belly. I don't have a lot of yellow belly complex animals. And so I got, the price was too good. And she's nice and healthy and really friendly and easygoing. And I thought I would figure out something to do with her. She's fun to hold, and she
Yeah,
looks
you
pretty cool.
can't go wrong with supers when they're gonna produce. Did you say that's highway or freeway?
Highway, yeah,
Okay, gravel.
yeah, gravel and yellow belly. So if you breed like a super gravel tour, you'll get more super gravels and more highways. And then if I bred a freeway tour, then I would get like a whole assortment of different things. I think like parkways and freeways and highways and all sorts of roadways. So I just thought she was cool and the price was good and she was a proven breeder, and so I snagged her. And there she is. She's just been chilling on coconut husk and kind of hanging out on the heat a lot. I think I tried to feed her once already and she didn't eat a frozen thawed meal. So she'll get a mouse tonight and I bet she'll eat it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's cool.
Give me a moment here. Okay, so let's take a look at page 1 of Morph Market auctions. Now, both of us had some auctions last week, and let's talk about our experiences with the auction.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what's going on right now. Actually, a few of these have ended. But talk about, you had a Brazilian rainbow boa. How did that go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd mentioned it The week before that I was gonna be posting it soon, and then I posted it like I think on Tuesday so that it would end like right after our show. And then I mentioned it on the show and showed the snake. And yeah, I mean, I kind of just gave up on the project. I really got to all of a sudden thin some stuff in my collection. And, like that sure would have been cool to, in a few years, like 2 to 3 years, like breed her and have, there's nothing like having a litter of live born snakes, whether that's like rough green snakes or, there's sand boas and rosy boas are pretty much like my favorite snake, and um, Brazilian rainbow boas, after they have their first litter, they can shoot out quite a few. I think people have had like upwards of like 30, and they're very pretty and people like them. So I noticed on Instagram this week that all sorts of people have acquired Brazilian rainbow boas recently and are sharing them. And yeah, I just felt like that was the first thing to cut and eliminate. She is in an aquarium, and just hustle up some money and hopefully make someone happy. That snake is pretty well started, and I was planning on shipping her out on Wednesday for Thursday, all the way across the country to Florida and all the palm trees. And our printer broke right before I was gonna print a label, and then I had a whole bunch of stuff just come up that day, and it just got stressful for me, a little anxiety, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna deal with it. And so I told him about it, and we ordered a printer, and we'll try Wednesday for Thursday next week. And he was really understanding about it. I apologized, and otherwise would have been a very swift transaction. He paid the next day, and with my preferred payment method, and he seems like a nice guy, and he has some ratings on Morph Market, and I think he's got a bunch of stuff, and maybe he wanted a Brazilian rainbow boa. So I could tell he was definitely excited about it. So I'm happy that she's going to a good home, and it'll be nice and humid in Florida. She'll have a nice cozy spot, I bet. And another couple of years of power, maybe a little bit of power feeding. I didn't power feed her. Like she could get up to adult size. Um, yeah, I had showed the price uh, that she was at before and was hoping that it was going to go up in the next couple hours to something pretty decent. You never know 100% for sure with no reserve. Sometimes things are timing in sales. And I had mentioned that she would probably go for like 300, that would be okay with me, and I felt like she was worth a bit more than that, but that's probably what she would go for, and she went for 295. So
Not bad. How
yeah.
much was shipping to Florida, if you don't mind sharing that with us?
From what I looked on Redline, I think it was gonna be over 100, but I had 100 put on there, so he paid that. So whatever it is over that, it's fine with me. Like I got a really good deal on the snake, and spent some time with her and enjoyed her a little bit, and some food and whatnot, some electricity, but essentially I was able to sell her for that amount and not lose, and I feel like he got a good deal, and I can tell he's gonna appreciate the snake, so it's a win-win really.
That's good.
Mm.
Well, I had a different experience on my Morph Market auctions. I had
Mm.
two put up last week,
Oh, that's
and
right.
they both were bid on, and the male got up to 155, which I was
Mm.
happy with, I guess. And the female went for I think 35, and I put $75 shipping for both of them. So I was like, okay, I'll get these out of my racks into someone who can use them in their projects. And
Mhm.
as it turned out, the same buyer bid on both of them, and I saw that. And I was like super happy. I was like, heck yeah, I could save on shipping and give them a discount on shipping as well because I could put them both in the same box. And as it turned out, they're a husband and wife team, and they wanted to buy a snake because they're getting married this week and tomorrow actually, and, and they wanted to give themselves a gift. And
Interesting.
apparently, the husband didn't know she was bidding, and so as it turns out, they only wanted one snake. So, and the one the wife wanted turned out to be the lesser priced one. And you know
Mhm.
what? I'm I'm not out to get anybody, and I was okay with that. I did lose out on my auction, but so I'll be shipping out that other snake hopefully next week. And first time buyers, newlyweds, I I don't want to give a bad experience to anyone, so
Right.
I'll ship that out no problem. And they're actually
Yeah.
from California as well, so if it doesn't end up being more than $75 shipping, I'll discount the price for them as well on that front.
Yeah,
So
wedding present.
interesting that they'll be getting married on 420, but hey.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the news, it's show season. I know um, we just had a big one in Dallas, and there was just recently one in Tinley, and the California shows are coming up. So you're going to be at Anaheim and
Hmm.
Pomona, or just one?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'll check them both out, and I'm not sure what day. I usually go like on Saturdays, but we'll see. We'll coordinate, and they're just a lot of fun, great big shows, lots of people. You get to see people that you saw, earlier in the year or last year, and it'll be interesting to see how the market adjusts after like tax season and
Mhm.
after, everything that's gone on in the hobby. What will be hot, what will be not there, and how many ball pythons, and will they sell well? It'll be fun to see all that.
Now, I know the Anaheim and Pomona shows are like back to back, June and July. Are you
Mhm.
okay with that, or would you prefer them to be spread out a little bit?
Yeah, I'd prefer them to be spread out a little bit, but I
Yeah.
I
Same.
think the way that everything is for my collection right now, I won't likely per usual like really pick anything up. I'll probably just go to mingle and have fun and yeah, see friends and stuff. So that'll be cool. But I really think that for shows of that magnitude, that they should be spread out by at least like 2 to 3 months, something like that, depending on schedules of other shows in the state and in the area. But yeah, that's a little close. And just like January shows, I feel like they're just too close to the holidays. But I don't make the scheduling, they do what they want. And summer is definitely a time where you're going to get a lot of different people in the area, families and different curious people wanting to go as well than the regular folks, so and keepers. So that's probably why they're put in those months.
Yeah, I got a question for you about ARS. I know I should email them, but
Hmm.
I, as you know, I'm in the market. I might be getting one to be shipped to the Anaheim show that they'll be at. Does it
Hmm.
come shipped assembled or in the box
Yeah,
still?
they I believe that they assemble them first and then bring them on trucks. I don't think they assemble them when they get to the show. So they that way they're able to like strap them all in and secure, and they know that everything is like good to go, nothing's missing, and um and then they show up and they unload the truck, and they got a spot for that, like pretty close, and and they just wheel them on in and put them on display, and it's pretty impressive if you really want to be a bigger breeder, or you want to like yeah, you want to grow, and you want to get away from aquariums and PVC, and that being all that you had, and you finally get a rack. It's pretty cool. They're good quality, and they have great customer service. And yeah, I think you'll be able to just go and look, and you can either pay with a deposit, or you could pay in full, and then they'll just bring it ready to go for you, or you can show up and take your chances and get something that they have on display. It just depends on how bad you want one, and you know if you want to secure a certain size and everything like that.
Cool. I'm seriously considering that. So I'll email them and chat about that.
Yeah, you'll need like a big SUV, or like a nice truck with a long bed in the back, and strap it down if you want to
Right.
drive it home. So you'll have to like coordinate that, and that will save you a lot on shipping, that's for sure. That's definitely the
Definitely.
benefit of getting one at a show.
Yeah, I bought a truck last year and I specifically bought it so I could transport one of these big racks. So I'm prepared for that. Okay, let's get into our topic for this week, and that
Mhm.
is our experiences with both being a buyer and seller of snakes online. And you know what? Shout out to Gray's Reptiles here. He was going to be one of the guys I shout out as a great experience. But let's talk first about the bad experiences so that we could end on the good.
Mhm.
We'll start with these questions here. Number one, has there been a seller you will not buy from again? You want to answer that?
Mm. Well, in my 2 stints in the hobby, like there's definitely been people that I would never buy from again. And it doesn't necessarily mean I had to have like an argument or something. Just like sometimes you don't vibe with people. And back in the day, man, there would be people you'd buy from, and they'd do things that were like a little controversial or shady or deceptive, and people will sell you stuff they know is not healthy at times. If you're in the hobby long enough and you um, mingle with certain places, pet stores, distributors, and stuff, and not everybody is super ethical and professional in their business dealings, and that just goes for any hobby or trade or business. But yeah, I definitely have um bought stuff from people, and then I just didn't really care so much for them as a person, or I didn't trust something, or something wasn't right, and just didn't go back. It's unfortunate when that kind of thing happens. But sometimes it's communication, and sometimes yeah, you buy and sell and trade enough, eventually, unfortunately, you'll have some experience that surprised you and didn't go as well as you thought, and could create those kinds of dynamics where you don't want to buy from someone again. This time around in the hobby, there was one seller that I don't know. I'm not in buying mode, really, honestly, at this point in this year. But if I was, there was one buyer that I bought from um when I got in the hobby and had been in a handful of months, and I just didn't. I don't know. I wanted sometimes. Usually, when I buy something from someone, I want to try to be friendly with them.
Mhm.
It's not just all I want what they have, and like I try to build relationships, be friendly, make friends, and I try to do that with someone who is a pretty big name in the hobby. And I I would say I overspent a little bit on a in particular snake that I was interested in, and it ended up being a good snake and a healthy snake. But that person like said, "Hey, cool, awesome, yeah, well that's a good arrangement. That's that's a deal." And then they proceeded to just say, "Well, okay, just we'll get back to you. Don't worry about we'll get back to you on when you can pay and all that kind of thing and no rush, no worry, just it's all good." And I was like, "Okay." And I was essentially ready to pay and I think I left a deposit, a small deposit, I don't know, a couple $100 or something. And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, okay, we'll get back to you, no rush." And then for whatever reason, I think I started to conversate with them a little bit, trying to be their friend, and then they were like, mm, "Yeah, I'm not used to lots of questions and being super outgoing and blah blah." I was like, "All right, I'm really chatty, so I get that. I know, that's fine. Okay, you just let me know when you're ready for next payment and stuff." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And I didn't hear from them for over 2 months, definitely over 2 months, like maybe 2.5 months. And I wasn't in a rush. It wasn't like the super ultra had to have right now snake, but they hit me up one day, even though I could have been paying all along. I guess I could have been bugging them. I could have been like, "Hey, take this money now this week," but I didn't really. I just kind of chilled back. I don't know. And almost in a way kind of forgot about it. They'll get back to me, and I make decent money. Like I'll have the money. It'll be fine. But the timing that they did finally hit me back was more of an approach of "Hey, it's been a long time. You really need payment from you, blah blah blah." I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Actually, this is just timing wise a bad week for me to pay off this snake or give you another chunk because only reason it's taken this long is because if you scroll upward in the messages, you'll see that I could have paid all along, but you told me to wait until, basically don't call me, I'll call you, and that you weren't very chatty. So I just kind of let it go. And now you are contacting me months later as if I'm dragging this out when in reality I'm just kind of literally going by your words, waiting on you and not bugging you. And you're not very chatty. So, you're going to have to chill out. I'm not trying to make a bad experience. I didn't, nothing. I want nothing more than to be friendly with you and on good terms. And I'm finally getting a snake from you. And yeah. But yeah, no, the delay isn't on me. The delay is you haven't contacted me and you specifically, word for word, said we'll get in touch with you. So yeah, not this week. So when we get next week, the next week came, and I think I was I couldn't, I don't know, I was in the middle of car insurance or whatever. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden money was super tight from whatever bills and situation. And I was like, yeah, again, I'm sorry, this week's not good either, but we'll do it at such and such time. And then they're like, "Okay, because it's pretty much been the time frame, 3 months of payment plan." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I get it. I can pay it off in full. Let's just do it in such and such time." So then that time comes around, whatever we agreed upon, maybe 2 weeks later or whatever. And they contact me and then they wanted Zelle. So then I went to send them the money, the balance for the snake in Zelle, and something it was weird with the banks. And they had this problem with somebody recently, and they had mentioned it, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird. I've never had this problem." But then again, I haven't used Zelle very much. I think I sold some sports cards once, and somebody sent me $900 with Zelle, and it was instant. And I think I paid a couple things with Zelle before, and everything went fine. But for whatever reason, It was just meant to be difficult with this person, and it wasn't my fault, and I'm trying to pay them and it won't let me. And I like called the bank and do all these different things, and I'm just like, man, this is like really looking bad on me now because time has gone by. I could have paid all along. This could be all wrapped up, but now it's like this weird thing where it seems like I'm not very reliable. And they got a little bit, I don't know, a little bit in a tiff about it. Not real bad, but enough to where the whole point was I was going to get this snake from these people and hopefully make friends with them and be able to chat with them and use them as a resource. And, and I left after I paid the snake and received the snake, not really left with a feeling of building rapport or having it be a smooth purchase. And that is that. And I haven't really spoken to them since. Um, Maybe once briefly in a group somewhere, but like essentially, and I no hard feelings or nothing, but it's just kind of a disappointing outcome when you're trying to make friends with people.
Not to name names here, but are they a well-known breeder?
Well known, big name. Yeah, they like to, you could say, nickname snakes.
Hmm.
And that'll just be a hidden Easter egg. And if you get it out there in viewer land, cool. And if not, I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay, well, I personally have not experienced the seller that I wouldn't buy back from. I mean, I've had some snakes that probably weren't packed the best, but they came in safe, so I'm not gonna complain on that front. But let me share with you a bad customer experience I've had, and if you have one that you'd like to share, you may do that as
Mm,
well.
sure.
So I put up a pastel highway female. This was in, I believe, early 2023, just when I first started selling on Morph Market. And the customer had inquired about it, and actually did a lowball offer. Now, when I put my pastel highway up, I did research on Morph Market. I saw the prices, and since I was a brand new seller, I thought I'd price it on the low range. It certainly didn't undercut anybody, but it was very competitively priced. And the person sent me a lowball offer, and I kindly refused and said, there's not enough meat on the bone for me. I apologize. Feel free to look elsewhere for your pastel ivory. And then he responded back and said, hey, you know what? Let me sleep on that. And I actually, overnight while he was sleeping on it, I sold it. Someone inquired and bought that snake. And he came back and he was furious. He's like, I told you I was going to sleep on that snake. And you
Yeah,
should
you
have.
slept on it all right. Like a pillow.
And then he just started getting mean in his comments. He was,
Mm.
calling me names and stuff like that. And so thank goodness Morph Market has a block feature. So he's been blocked and can no longer buy from me. So
Mm.
oof, just as a rookie seller out there, just to be thrown out there, I'm glad that was a rare experience so far for me. But that was my experience with a bad customer. Anything with you on that front?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned in the past once that I had sold a snake to a guy, super excited about it. And so I was excited that he was excited. And it was like a gene that isn't like very common. And it's in the fire complex. And there's a whole bunch of different lines of fire on different
Hmm.
continents. But this one, supposedly, and from what it showed, but I can't really say, for sure because I didn't personally acquire the snake. I just received it in the collection, but it's like a nicer line of fire. Like potentially far nicer than any other line of fire. Like it really brightens up and like I had this banana fire, this special kind of fire, and it had no spots. and it was a really pretty banana. And had I had like told the guy, okay, great, this is the price, and he's kind of like iffy on the price a little bit or the shipping or something, and I was like, oh, this is what I can do. That's what it'll be, and if that works for you, it is a unique snake, and I just don't have I kind of want to keep it and raise it and breed it, but like it would be cool to see somebody do something with it, and I would like to see what comes of it. And he was like, okay, yeah, I'll get it. That seems good. And I was like, okay, cool. And it was a very healthy, like well started snake. And and I told him, okay, so next week it'll be like Tuesday for Wednesday or Wednesday for Thursday. Usually I do Tuesday for Wednesday though, but starting to do Wednesday for Thursday sometimes. And that's like kind of what we're looking at. It'll be one of those days, and that next week came around quick, and I had some stuff come up, and I couldn't ship, and he was like, okay, so we're gonna do it this day. And I remember he messaged me specifically like the equivalent of like it's all good any which way. Like I'm easy going, like whatever. And so I was like, okay, great, this is gonna be good. And I didn't anticipate like dropping the ball a little bit and not shipping, but I hadn't promised like a set time. But I was shooting for one of those days for sure. And then when the time came, I think it was like Tuesday for Wednesday, he's like, "Oh no, that like I told him I couldn't ship. I had some stuff coming up and I was busy and I'm really sorry, but we'll do it tomorrow." And he was like, "No, no, no, it has to be today. It has to be like our FedEx is like 25 minutes away and it's a whole thing and I've been like working like 2 weeks straight and I'm out of town all the time and like you said it could be that day." And I was like, "Well, yeah, no, you're right. Like I was anticipating it being today for sure, but like um initially, I had said it could be one of the 2 days, and you were real easy going about it, and I'm usually really easy going about it, and it just today's just a bad day for me. I got a whole bunch of stuff that I got to deal with, and I just can't. No, I'm sorry. And you know it's not the end of the world. And he was like, no, it was the end of the world to him. And oh, I was like, well, man, like, okay, so you won't be around and tomorrow, like, eh, to delay it a day. And okay, so what about next week? And he just wasn't down with that. And I was like, oh man. And it just turned into this big argument where like I broke promises essentially is what he's saying, and I'm not a man of my word. And I mean, this is just a few days that have gone by since you purchased this thing. I was like, oh man, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but like, um, it's not the end of the world, man. Like these kinds of things happen sometimes. Like I didn't do it on purpose, and you'll get your snake, and it's gonna be fine. And we'll just do it at the next soonest opportunity that works for both of us. I assume like next week. But he was like not having it, and he was like, oh man, he started like cussing and like just he was just like he was trying to be, he wasn't being like super super mean, but at times you could easily say he was being mean, but he was being really disrespectful, and I was like, man, I can't believe this is happening. And like it got to the point where he wanted a refund, and I probably should have just refunded him right then and there because he was like getting like doing ultimatums and stuff. I was like, oh man, like I don't know, should I just give this guy a refund or like, but then he's like telling me I have to, or he's gonna like give me a bad review. And I kind of almost just want to see that out because like a deal is a deal. Like, and like I was like, oh man, how am I gonna fix this? And I insisted that he called me and we talk on the phone and just talk it out. Like it's a lot easier and less misconstrued in text. Like you can reason with someone easier on the phone, especially in person, but at least on the phone. And he just wouldn't. He didn't want to text me. It's like all these like threats and like gonna get the worst review ever and all this stuff. And I was like, well, like, look, like I'll talk to Morph Market, and then you talk to Morph Market, and we'll see what they say. And Morph Market, they're not gonna like answer you in 24 hours generally, and so that like the emails like basically were saying, just to wait a little bit, and then we'll get back to you. And like it's just escalated more and more, and I was just like really bummed out about it. But I was kind of standing firm on my ground. It's like, I don't think I'm gonna refund you. Actually, I think I'm gonna send you the snake. I'm like, I'm not saying that that's the best way to do it, and here I am admitting that maybe maybe that was a mistake. However, the way it turned out is it was very, very difficult, but eventually later in the day, I convinced him to um to call me. And he called me and he was pretty like worked up. And I was just like, look, I was just like, all right, let's calm it down. Look, I haven't had any problems with anybody coming back in the hobby this time. Like troubleshooting is very rare. I have dealt with some stuff in the past, but like I'm getting along with everyone. If you ask anyone about me, if you look at my Instagram, if you like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to be rude or difficult. I'm not messing with you. I'm not scamming you. Just look, I never promised it'd be this one day. I didn't think from your messages that you were this like gung ho about it and that it had to be that day. Otherwise, you would have mentioned that and I would have known that all along. I told you it could have been one of these 2 days. I kind of opted for the next day. And then all of a sudden, you were easygoing and then you weren't. And then now you're escalating to like it's got to be a refund, it's got to be this, and you're disrespecting me, and that's like a whole separate thing in its own. But like, look, man, like, how can we fix this? Like, how can I make you happy? Let's just like be reasonable. Let's talk it out. I asked him like about his collection, what he had, what his job was like. I just like relate with him for a bit. And after like, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes of like talking things out with him, he was like, he was like, man, I'm sorry, man, I'm sorry. You seem like a nice guy. I really, really, really need it to be today. Can you please, like, please just like figure a way out so that way we can deal with this as we were expecting it. And then it'll just be done. And I promise I'll give you a good review. And I was like, all right. I forget what I had planned at that day. I had some sort of appointment and I had it was just a busy morning and I just felt like it would be no big deal. I'll just ship it tomorrow. It'll be fine. I like canceled whatever it was I was doing and I was in the middle of something at home too. And I just had to put that on hold and I had to like rush over and package everything and kind of like beat the buzzer at FedEx. And I got it off to him and I put like a juvenile Pac-Man frog in there too. I love Pac-Man frogs and they're fun little garbage disposals. They're cute even though they're very stationary. And I just thought, I got an extra one at the last show and I think this is like an easy pet to put on somebody as like a forced here, take care of this kind of a thing. Like Pac-Man frogs are super simple and easy to get rid of if you had wanted to. And I just thought it would be a nice bonus. And I love all the Pac-Man frogs I've ever owned so much, and it'll be easy for them. It's not like they have a lot of care requirements too much, and he received the package the next day and really liked the freebie and gave me like a glowing review, and I was like, phew. And I apologized to him that went the way that it went and that no hard feelings and that if he needs anything else in the future let me know, and I hope that he likes the frog and the family enjoys it. And thank you for the purchase. And yeah, it turned it around. Although it was kind of a negative experience. We ended up like, essentially shaking hands on it and no hard feelings. And so that was cool. And kind of a learning lesson too on my part.
Definitely. Wow.
I think I mentioned that story before, but that's like this time around in the hobby, that's the one thing that was like, whoa, yeah, I could have handled that better. At the same time, it could have gone worse. Sometimes even if you just refund somebody because it's getting weird, like that's not exactly turning it around either. So I was able to figure out a way to make this guy go from excited to somehow I felt unreasonably unhappy and irate to like glowingly happy. And that's just sometimes how things can go.
See, that's a strength of yours. You have that ability to talk. Mine would have been, "Hey, here's your money back. Let's end this business deal right here."
Yeah, some people will go that route, and sometimes that's the safest, like sometimes you don't even want to send somebody an animal that you created and they're going to be giving you like unnecessary attitude or whatnot. It was interesting. I'm just glad he ended up being happy. That's what you really want. You just want
Yeah,
to have good customers and make people happy. I try to do that in every area.
that's good. Hey, let's talk about the good. Let's end this on a good. I'll start out first. Shout out a business I will continue to support. Now, I've got some two really cool guys here in San Diego. I got Gray from Gray's Reptiles, and the last Pomona show, he gave me a really good deal on my Hurricane Clown. And it's really good to establish relationships with your local breeders because they'll hook you up and you'll hook them up. Randy from Dark Cloud Reptiles, um, I've hooked him up with a really good snake, and he hooked me up with two cool snakes. So shout outs to both Gray's Reptiles and Dark Cloud Reptiles, and also the last person I bought from, RP Reptiles. And I think I mentioned last week the deal that he gave me, but just to cover it again. So I inquired about a snake. I was going to pay him the full price on it, and he mentioned that, oh, this snake just got off being on sale. I'll sell it to you for the sale price, and I saved a lot of money on that. So shout out to Gray's Reptiles, Dark Cloud Reptiles, RP Reptiles, all here in Southern California. All awesome snake sellers who you should support. How about you? Anyone you want to shout out?
As good sellers, I would say I really like Aaron at Beast Morphs. Um, there were a couple snakes I think I inquired on before I ever bought a snake from him, and then I just kind of didn't end up getting them. It's just weighing some things, considering some stuff. I told him I was like, looking at some stuff he had and would this work and just developing like rapport and conversation. Like some sellers will spend a lot of time with you and be real patient, even if like you haven't given them a bunch of money and still stay in touch with you. And that's a sign of a good seller. And, of course, eventually I bought a snake from him and went really, really well. And if I ever have anything that I want to chat with him about or, ask him about, he'll share. And he's just really, really one of the people that I wish I could have bought more snakes from already. And then there's some people that I've done trades with that have worked out really well. That I I I'm really happy with the results, and we've stayed friends and we talk all the time. Not all the time, but like regularly, and that's pretty cool. You never know with that kind of thing. Not especially a known name in the hobby, but my one of my favorite trades was with someone in Florida, and she's super cool. Troy, Best Dressed Balls, probably. One of the people that I feel invests a lot of energy and time in the hobby, in being somewhat a face, a known face in the hobby, going to all the shows and everything that takes time, energy, and money wise to do, and then isn't greedy about his sales, like he'll help people out, give them a good deal on their first snake, or somebody is really interested in something that's a little bit kind of out of their reach, and expanding and going to the next level in their collection. And if he happens to have something like that, he'll try to find a way to make it work for you. And that's something that I respect in the hobby, in the past and now. So let's see, who else?
I'm actually on a YouTube live right now. You guys want to come in?
I don't know about you guys, but I would say Garrick DeMeyer at Royal Constrictor Designs. He's somebody that I trust to sell healthy animals and unique stuff, and he'll also spend a lot of time with you too. And that's someone I would vouch for and recommend you check out his website and what he has available. Runs some sales now and then, and has a lot of options. I've never gotten a snake from Miguel at AEP, but I would like to. I bet I'd have fun hanging out with him, and hopefully one day I will get to. And then Antoine at High Desert Pythons, one of my favorite people in the hobby. He's just a good person and will help people grow their social media and will be friendly with you and will spend time with you. And I was able to go to his house before he moved to the East Coast and spend some time with him. And yeah, he's a really good seller, and he's got some cool stuff right now. So,
Cool.
yeah, shout them out.
Hey, I wanted to share with you a couple of visitors I just had.
Yeah, let's see.
A couple of former students of mine came by to say hello.
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
We have Eric here, who's in the U.S. Navy.
US Navy.
Thank you for serving.
Nice.
Thank you.
And we got one of my favorite students ever here, Sergio. Sergio, what are you up to right now?
Me?
Yeah.
Just doing a food business.
Oh,
He got his van.
I
He
got
got,
my
he got a car.
van.
And he registered and
nice.
everything.
You know, this guy always was good at business, and I'm glad to see you've started your own business.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'm glad you guys are welcome to hang out here if you want, but we're almost done here. Hey, I've been learning some lingo from my kids this week, and one of the new words I've learned is glazing. Do you know what glazing means?
Well, I don't know. Does it have anything to do with Entenmann's or Hostess?
So glazing means to like talk really good about someone, yourself, or someone else. And hey, let's glaze ourselves a little bit here.
Yeah.
Talk about actually, let me go first, then you could finish this off.
Sure.
But the question here, let me bring this back up. So it's, what have you done to take care of a customer? And let me share my experience. So I had a customer buy a snake before the winter shipping season stopped. And during that time, the couple of months where we couldn't ship snakes out, prices dropped, and he didn't even ask for a discount. But once the shipping was available, I decided to give him the current market price. So he saved a couple $100 on a snake that he bought from me. And not only that, but I decided to, because what happened was last year when I did my giveaway snake, the person who won the giveaway decided not to take one of the snakes. So since the prices went down, I offered the snake that the other person didn't want to him. and he was wondering if the free shed test was available for that snake, which I was also offering. And unfortunately, the other person who won the snake wanted that shed test, so I ended up just buying a shed test for Het Ultramil for him. And so I hooked them up on a discount on the snake, current market price, along with a free shed test from Charlie at Grey Riders Reptiles. So just to glaze myself a little bit, I take care of my customers.
Yeah,
And
that's a good example of going above and beyond, and helping somebody out doing the right thing, and that kind of thing will follow you as far as like good karma, you know.
how about you? What have you done to take care of your customers?
Mm, let's see. I'm trying to think if I've given, like in the past when I was in the hobby, I would give lots of freebies to the point that it seemed like maybe that wasn't even going to be appreciated over time because everyone's expecting like a bunch of freebies when I ship. And but I would say that's one of the things that I like to do. One of my customers was local. It contacted me on Morph Market and ended up being local. He saw that I was like in the area, and I went over and met him at a pet store that is no longer there, but it was at the time. It was all right. And he wanted a snake from me, and I gave him a fair price on a snake that I had already been pairing, and it was getting like real fat and eating good. So I was kind of hopeful that he'd get eggs out of it, but I could kind of use the money at the same time too. He is like a newer keeper, and I just thought, well, I got this big collection. Why don't I just like pairing a bunch of different stuff? Why don't I just like hook him up on this snake, and then maybe he'll get eggs, and that'll be good karma. And he hasn't gotten eggs from it yet, although he did get eggs the other day. And he ended up buying like another snake from me that I sold to him pretty cheap. And then I gave him a free snake. I'm trying to think of what it was at this time. But I know I gave him a female something. I think it was like a leopard. And then later on he bought like a little rodent rack from me and a PVC rack from me, and I gave him fair prices, and then I gave him 3 snakes for free. So he like bought a snake from me when I could really use the money that week. And it was a snake I didn't really want to get rid of, but I feel like he'll breed it pretty, pretty soon, relatively soon. It's like essentially adult snake. And um and then I gave him other snakes along the way. He spent more money with me, and I went and set everything up and gave him a free thermostat, and then like gave him some really nice tubs, and gave him lots of advice and lots of time, and we still stay in touch. But later on, I ended up giving him like an adult banana male that he ended up keeping, and a female Enchi that was like not quite breeding size, but was really pretty in orange. I think I had her listed for like $100 or something. And then I gave him another free female, like sub-adult snake. Just like stuff that I didn't really need that I essentially got for free, and I just passed that along. So he was a good customer, and he's wanting to grow what he has, and I gave him stuff along the way, and he continued to buy, small little things from me, a couple hundred here, a couple hundred there, and I would reward him by like giving him some snakes. And some of those snakes like he ended up not being interested in, and he would like turn around and sell and kind of hustle up some money and then buy something that he wanted. And it like any which way, some of the snakes he kept and is enjoying, and some that he essentially got free money off of. So it's like it's just mutually beneficial, and he gave me a good review, and we still stay in touch to this day. So I would say that was pretty friendly of me.
Very.
Yeah, pretty sugary, right? That's like a glaze. Maybe it's more powdered. Like I like powdered donuts, but either way, it's a sugary coating. Nice pat on the
Bottom
back.
bottom line here is make those relationships in this hobby, in this business, because taking care of your customers will lead to more business down the line, and making friends with others in the business can lead to better deals for you. Any final thoughts here, Jason?
Yeah, no, just like pay it forward. Like some of my most appreciated moments and experiences working with different species and meeting different people in the hobby over the decades would be like somebody gave me something, or whether that was like tons of experience that nobody else like had a lot in, like little secrets and things, or helped me out, lent me something, spotted me like rodents when I was like short, or any of those kinds of things. And then I'd always like return the favor in some sort of way, bring them something, find a way to help them, volunteer some hours, or give them something, or um, you know, like the more you put something good out there, like you give a kid their first pet at like a reptile show, and their parents maybe don't have quite the money and everything, or you give someone a cage setup so that it can more properly take care of something that they have, or maybe you give them a book that you've read like 120 times and you're pretty much have absorbed it all, and point them in the right direction, something that they can learn about. Like all those things help grow the hobby and create positive experiences where people are learning more and they're feeling like there's good people in the hobby, and it just ripples forward, and people have done really nice things for me over the years, and I've tried to at least give as much back.
As always, Jason with the mic drop. Thank you
We've
so
given
much.
you this episode, everybody, and next week we'll give you another one. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody. See ya. Have a great week.